this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts in the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, conservatism is progressivism driving the speed limit, from Michael Malice, and that's a post from Rothmist, and that's a meme, going to conservative convention in 2024, and it's like, why are there transvestites here? Rap music. Why is there rainbow MAGA flags? Conservative trans woman. And I said in response, conservatism conserves absolutely nothing. And then I shared a comment from Stone Toss. It's the Republican elephant going, Democrats are the real racists. In the future, he's all gone woke. He's saying neo-Leninists are the real transphobes. And also, I found that looks like they even have vegan BBQ at the RNC now. It just goes to show you that the GOP is just controlled opposition. If anything, the left and the Democrats are the ones who really control the narrative and the culture, I would say. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have DE urgent. Today, Nancy Faeser, Germany's queen of censorship, banned the right-wing magazine Compact from Naomi Seb on Twitter, and I posted that. And that's my thought. My thoughts on that issue are probably only a matter of time before we see the state side. You know, they constantly find ways to get around the Constitution. I wouldn't be surprised if they soon ban any dissent at all. If they can cast it negatively enough, like using labels like far right or neo-Nazi. You know, these days pretty much any dissent at all is gonna get labeled like far right or neo-Nazi. So that's my thoughts on that issue. You know, it just goes to show you that you shouldn't be justifying censorship even if you think it's for a good reason, because that goes against freedom of speech. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Wapo Journo. Max Boot was married to an unregistered foreign agent who was just indicted. Ha 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 ha. From Jarvis on Twitter, and I posted that. And they also shared a screenshot of an opinion article he wrote in 2019 for the WAPO. It said, "Here are 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset." And I said in response, Eric Swalwell 2.0, because you knew he banged a Chinese spy, Eric Swalwell, and this is another one of the people on the DNC media apparatus who is, you know, selling out to a spy from East Asia. But, you know, that all their enemies are the foreign assets, not them. You know, it just goes to show you it's really all projection a lot of the time when it comes to politics. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Democrats now openly admit that they pushed Biden to block Bernie from Jacobin.com by Ragnar OKXG. And they added, the only Democrat I would have voted for, and yet it was called crazy for saying it was done on purpose. And I would agree with that. You know, the DNC treated Bernie very horribly in both 2016 and 2020. I voted for him in the primary both times because I was more into the socialism back then. And I liked how anti-establishment he was. With that being said, you know, it just goes to show you that, that they're gonna that the party is gonna screw you over if it's able to, and that's why, you know, it's better to be in a third party, because, you know, it's easier. They have more room for dissenting opinions, I think, because otherwise, you know, with the big two parties, they'll always find a way to screw over any opposition to what the party machine thinks to do, and that's my thought on that issue. Then we have demonopolized government power from Cowdog Curmudgeon, and it's a meme of the American flag, and it says, "In the nation of the people, by the people, and for the people, no individual or position in government should have enough power that their assassination can significantly influence the political outcome." And I would agree with that. You know, we need to decentralize our government power rapidly, I would say, because right now it's so centralized, and the government can pretty much do whatever it wants to, and no one can really stop them. And that's why, you know, I think you need to decentralize and push for voluntary government rather than the forced government that we have today. Then we have RFK Jr. pledges cabinet roles for Libertarians, Greens, and others from unionforward.substack.com by Joshua Stinge 11. And Willpower69 responded, it's easy to make big promises when he knows he won't be getting in office. And I said in response, politicians almost always go back on their word when they are elected as well. See Trump's promise to have a Libertarian in his cabinet. And yeah, you know, it just goes to show you that, you know, you can make big promises, but, you know, a lot of times in politics, promises aren't kept, and you just get stabbed in the back rather than the front. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, I actively catalog some of the worst behavior during 2020's Cultural Revolution from Jeremy Kaufman on Twitter, and he added, "Here's a roundup of 20 egregious firings, investigations, and excesses from 2020 so you can remember just how bad things got." And I said in response, "The scary thing is that it will likely only get worse as time goes on." And yeah, that's my fault on that issue. Increasingly, if you dissent at all and don't kowtow to the woke revolution, they'll come after you for it. And that's why, we have to stand against the woke and how they're trying to bully everyone to get what they want. That's why we have to stand against the woke. And yeah, that's my fault on that issue. Don't let them push you around because you say they say something. They say what you're saying is the wrong thing. That's, just stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to say what I want to say. If you don't like it, that's fine, but don't bully me and get me fired from my job and canceled for saying what's on my mind. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have a summary of the Mueller report, Trump collusion of Russia, from Winter Trebex, and that was a self-post that they made, and they said, as early as 2014, a Russian group based in St. Petersburg and funded by wealthy Russian oligarch Yevgeny Prigozhin began work to undermine the American electoral process. The group was called the Internet Research Agency. Trump had contact in 2015 of Russian citizens, officials regarding Trump Tower Moscow. Michael Cohen facilitated many of these conversations. In 2016, the IRA's focus changed from general to specific. It began supporting Donald Trump and disparaging Hillary Clinton. DNC officials and volunteers, including John Podesta, were subject to hacking by the main intelligence directorate and the general staff of the Russian army, otherwise called GRU. Podesta's emails would be released on the public on the same day when Trump's Access Hollywood came into the news. These Russian agents then published information mentioning the Clinton campaign through WikiLeaks, which caused American press to pick it up. Clinton's controversial emails stemmed from Russian hacking efforts, or detailing leading emails of personal nature may have been a precautionary measure in light of Russian hacking efforts. Trump campaign official Carter Page in July 2016 traveled to Russia to give various speeches. Following this, he came into contact with 2 Russian intelligence agents. He was removed from the Trump campaign around September 2016. Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort met with Konstantin Klimek, who is thought to have ties to Russian intelligence services. Manafort shared internal polling data and discussed how to best handle Russian-Ukraine relations. The FBI began investigating the events which suggested the Trump-Russian collusion connection. Trump fired FBI Director James Comey in May 2017. The same month, a special counsel Mueller was appointed to continue the FBI's investigation into Trump's activities. Trump would later request Ukrainian leaders to provide damaging information about Joe Biden, which led to his first impeachment hearing. The U.S. Senate, which was then led by a majority of Republicans, all voted to acquit the president rather than find him guilty. Only Mitt Romney voted that Trump was guilty of abusing his power, but had voted not guilty of obstruction of Congress. And I said in response, Blue Anon, I'm sure you will blame Russia again if Trump wins the post-election this year, even though collusion between Trump and Russia has always been overstated. Reddit still probably thinks the Steele dossier is legitimate, though, so I shouldn't be surprised if this won't go over well here. And that got negative 22 down comment karma, so that means 22 people downvoted it, I guess. So it just goes to show you that, if you dare speak up against whatever the current narrative is, even if it's a long since gone stale, like Russian collusion, they'll come after you for it. You're not allowed to question it without getting censored or downvoted into oblivion. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have 5 Just Stop Oil activists, including founder Roger Hallam, given record jail sentences over M25 protests from ibc.co.uk. by Frosty's Lawman. And, I personally don't think we should be arresting peaceful protesters. With that being said, the state can justify doing whatever it wants to, especially when they have the monopoly on the legal use of force. Then we have on the false freedom of choice and soft power under cloud capitalism from American MWAF, and that's crosswords from the Marxism subreddit, and that's linked to an article, lastoriginarmedium.com, on the false freedom of cloud choice and soft power under cloud capitalism abstract. In this essay, I used the works of Bung Shil Han, Yanis Varoufakis, and Zizek to discuss the ways in which power has shaped our new era of cloud capitalism, such that the subjugated is not even aware of their own subjugation, thinking themselves free. I discussed the difference between negative and positive power and how ideology makes soft power as an illusionary freedom of choice. I'm not really into Marxism, but I do agree that, we do live in a time where everyone's so subjugated, they don't even realize how subjugated they are. And I would agree with that part of their abstract. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the GOP are going to implement Christian nationalism any day now. And that's a self-post I made, and I said in response, which is precisely why they had to seek prayer at their convention. Don't believe everything you read online. I also added, hell, if anything, it looks like the GOP is trying to outdo the Democrats when it comes to being economic progressives. If having the head of the Teamsters at their convention means anything, J.D. Vance might as well be 2016 Bernie Sanders. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have RNC tries to appear inclusive by bringing out an Indian American woman to a Sikh prayer called the Ardas. MAGAs immediately freak out, and that's from Donald Key, and that's crosswords from the Leopards Ate My Face subreddit. And they added, you just the FMV763, you were saying about non-Christian at RNC. I said, people are mean online, we're at 11. And then Maddie Clark responded, in person didn't exactly go well as the convention itself either, and I said, I didn't hear any boos. You know, it just goes to show you that the GOP, supposedly these Christian nationalists who are going to implement Christian nationalism any day now, really are just, control opposition, if anything. Then we have Libertarian Party Chair Angela McCarthy endorses Republican Vivek Ramaswamy for the 2028 presidential election while defending the Trump-Vance ticket because liberty or something. And that's from CH Relax, and that's a cross post from the Fakertarian subreddit. And that was her tweeting, Vance will fail all purity tests, but he is not the focus of the election, and the VP doesn't usually get to do much. We should celebrate our wins and push for hashtag Vivek 2028. And, I personally would disagree with that, but that being said, I can personally see the perspective of, we're a third party, we're not going to win, we might as well just endorse liberty-leaning candidates in the Republican Party, or one of the major parties. And I guess I can see that perspective. I personally am more of a libertarian purist, I personally am all for, the GOP is just all can pretty much control the opposition, and we need to have our own party, and even if it's not going to be successful, we still need to push the envelope in regards to things like pushing for things like voluntary government and free association and all and letting people do what they want to, as long as they aren't hurting anyone else. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have socialist candidates claim Georgia Democrats are kicking them off the ballot from Winter Trabex. And they added, today I received a fundraising email from the Claudia de la Cruz Socialist Presidential Campaign, which I expect will go nowhere. I subscribe to these kinds of emails to get different perspectives and see what kind of events they're planning. This particular one stuck out to me. The email claims Democrats in Georgia are trying to disqualify de la Cruz and her running mate from being on the ballot. That claim isn't substantiated with evidence. No specifics are given as to how this process is happening. The email goes on about how this is unfair and that people who join the campaign prevent this from happening, I suppose, for legal expenses. I haven't found any news article of this even when looking for specific keywords. Usually campaigns will send out a press statement trying to drop interest or get in a general article published, or the candidate will write an op-ed local news outlet when the situation is happening, describe what they're going through. I haven't seen any of this. It's possible that nothing they're alleging is actually taking place. It's also possible they're understanding the difficulty of the situation they're in. Either way, I came away with this point, feeling disappointed by the 100 emails because it felt like they were saying, hey, this is tough, give me money. And I said in response, I can relate, the GOP sued me off the ballot once too. And and that's my thoughts on that issue. And then we have another post of that, breaking, the Democratic Party in Georgia is trying to kick Claudia and Karina off the ballot, but we won't let that happen. We will fight to stay on the ballot in Georgia. And that's from Ragnarok XD, and that's a cross post from the Late Stage Capitalism subreddit. And I said in response, the Democrats are supposedly the ones who care about democracy as well. It just goes to show that neither of the major parties really care about democracy. They just care about their uniparty oligarchy. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Who Likes Authoritarianism and How Do They Want to Change their Government from PewResearch.org by Baton 13. And I didn't comment on that one, but yeah, increasingly people are more and more into authoritarianism and not into leaving each other alone these days. And I think that doesn't bode well for our future, but I guess we have to wait and see what happens. Then we have many conspiracies did not turn out to be true from JJ McCullough on YouTube, and that's from Knee Concussions. And they added, JJ McCullough and I have many overlapping views and opinions, and I think this video delves deep into one microcosm of our current political state, conspiracy theories. And I said, personally, I think, conspiracy theories, they're just kind of labeled to disqualify other people's faults. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Ultimately, if you want to label someone else a conspiracy theorist, fine. But, people should be free to think what they want to. And if you want to label a conspiracy theory, you should be able to. But, that doesn't mean it's not true. And that's my thoughts on that issue. And then we have J.D. Vance left his Venmo public. Here's what it shows from Wired.com by FlimsyL5563. And it shows, I guess, how he's in debt to all the elites, or, he's close ties with all the elites, or, it's all that, it just goes to say that, a lot of in politics, they're all phonies, I would say. They're all just, elites trying to masquerade that that there aren't elites. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Want to see if we got anything new to check in the feed? No. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.